Welcome. Tonight is Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. This is the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Peter. It is 7 o'clock p.m. We will call the meeting to order. Would all please join in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone should have a copy of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second it.
All in favor of the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next up, we have the minutes from October 28th, 2019 meeting. Those minutes appear on pages 4 through 7. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second it.
All in favor of the minutes as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Next, we will address visitors. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any agenda item? Seeing no one, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any matter whatsoever? Seeing no one, we will move to the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins in detail on page 8 and concludes with the resolution on pages 27 and 28. And the first item we are going to strike because it doesn't meet the threshold of the $10,000, excess of $10,000. So the first item is line item 2, actually, which the city council meeting for December 23rd and the December 18th workshop are canceled, and the staff is directed to pay the bills and accounts payable and disbursement list, which myself and the city administrator and the finance director will approve. Next up, we have licenses. We have a temporary on-sale liquor license and a temporary gambling license for the Church of St. Peter for 1801 West Broadway for March 21st, 2020. Following employee appointments, Julie Ulrich for patrol officer at $27.57 per hour, plus the regular schedule of disbursements for October 29th, 2019 and November 7th, 2019. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I did forget to put that the December 30th workshop was also considered for cancel.
Okay.
We did have that in the memo. So,
But it's not on the resolution.
right,
December 30th workshop.
correct.
Did everyone hear that addition? December 30th, 2019 workshop is also canceled, if we approve it. Any questions or other comments on the consent agenda? John?
The last time we hired a patrol officer, I made a comment during the council meeting that we get background when we hire most city employees, and we hardly ever get any background when we hire patrol officers. And this time, we had background, and it was wonderful to see, giving some context to who it is, the kind of employees we're hiring. And I just wanted to express my appreciation for it and hope that this is something that we could continue to do.
All right. Anyone else? With those two changes, with the striking of the line item number 1, and also adding December 30th, 2019 to a cancellation date for workshop, is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Second it.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Zeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Kwame?
Aye.
Councilmember Piper?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. Next, we have unfinished business, which we do not have any. So we'll move to new business, and the first up is the canvass of the 2019 election results. Todd?
Mayor members, there's information in your packet starting on page 29 with the tabulation on page 30 as a part of the resolution. As you know, there are state rules related to canvassing and when requirements are in place for councils, in this instance, to take action. We're recommending approval of the canvassing resolution, and then we provide a copy of that to Nicollet County.
Questions? It's pretty straightforward. Seen it in publication if people have been looking, so I checked it. Everything worked out good, Barb. If there are no questions, The resolution canvassing the 2019 municipal election returns appears on pages 30 and 31. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
Now, any questions or comments?
Best of luck to the holdover council members.
We'll handle it just fine. We got some good new ones coming too.
There we go. Good bounce back from the north end. All right. Call the roll, please, Bart.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Grahams.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have the no maintenance trail designation, and Todd again.
Mayor and members, this is on page 32, and I'm sorry Pete is not here tonight to provide more in-depth explanation. I'll do my best if you have any questions. Pete's actually at a SIMPA meeting, and there's a map included in your packet, and as we've mentioned as a part of the workshop where you previously discussed this, there are not substantial changes from what we saw in the last 2-year cycle. The map, which will be included on your website if approved, or a modified map, if you approve a modified map, will be included on your website. And really what we're doing here is trying to take a cost-effective approach where there are other options in place for using sidewalks or trails, and actually trying to review what people use and what they don't use and what we hear on a regular basis. The resolution in your packet provides for the description of the areas that will be no winter maintenance. We're only talking about winter maintenance here, and that resolution starts on page 37 and ends on page 38.
Questions, comments? Steve?
I just wanted to mention that to people that may be viewing, is that the no maintenance trails and sidewalks isn't necessarily etched in stone. And if there are areas that someone has a question on, they should feel free to call up our Public Works Director, and he can address those
Yeah.
and consider it.
Most of these areas, some of them are interior to parks. There are also some where there is sidewalks on both sides of a major street and not much residential development on one side or the other. And so that's been a factor in trying to do this, frankly, cost efficiently. Last year, you spent a lot of time and energy. We try and review this on a regular basis. This sets it up for a 2-year cycle, but it certainly is something that the council could review on a regular basis and really change it any time that you wanted.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you remember, did we get a lot of calls last year?
We
There
have
was a lot of
not.
snow.
Well, we receive more calls generally about sidewalks that are responsibility of homeowners and corners than we do about this issue.
Right.
By far.
Yeah. And we went over this in a workshop, and it's pretty similar, very similar, if not the same as what we've had in the past. So, any other questions or comments? If not, the resolution establishing no winter maintenance trails and sidewalks for 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021 appears on pages 37 and 38. Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Grahams.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye. Resolution is approved. Next up, we have the 2020 municipal fee schedule. Todd again.
Mayor and members, this is something that you discussed actually 2 cycles ago, and you asked us to go back and make a few changes. I plan to go through the memo, and certainly I want to mention that the resolution, which is the fee schedule, is lacking some data. The reason that it's lacking some data or has some X's where there might be a numbering system, and so depending on what you approve is what will be filled in and straighten out the numbering system so that it's correct. So we just want to make sure that you understand that. The primary changes that we see here relate to labor costs within the police department, conditional use permits and other land use permits where we're frankly trying to keep pace with the increase in publication costs. There are statutory requirements for publications. A significant change here is SAC and WAC fees, so sewer access fees and water access fee WAC, sewer access fee SAC, in changing, reducing the cost of the residential sized connections for those. This is a result of some discussion that we've had and housing discussion that we've had to try and encourage additional housing development within the community. There are a few that are clear, from a staff perspective, that are clarification in language. We have more and more folks that look this stuff up online, so we've added a little bit more verbiage so that we hope contractors and others can more readily understand what we're trying to get at related to stormwater utility, underground utility work. One of the ones that you'll see omitted here relates to a discussion that the council had at its workshop related to an extension of a permit for work in the right-of-way, as an example. So we've removed that because, as was illustrated by the council, it was a little bit confusing, so we removed that. And many, if not all of these permits, have a finite timeline. So you have to do the work within a certain period of time, and if you don't, then there's no extension, then they're required to re-permit. That's something not only for us, but it's also for contractors, but frankly, more importantly, it's for neighbors that are abutting projects, in that at times contractors change, the method of operation changes, and we want to make sure that we have that appropriately covered so that repairs can be put in place effectively, and that we can continue to work with your other customers who might not be directly impacted by the work that's going on in a way that helps fix their yards, fixes their boulevards, as an example. So that's one that was removed since the last time. We're also looking for a change in your campsite fees. This is to make it including tax. Frankly, we're just trying to get a nice round number. So the fee either went up 50 cents or down 47 cents or something like that. We're trying to make it a nice round number for folks, and to make the transaction easy when many of the transactions occur at the police department dispatch desk, certainly over the weekend. That's the case. That's where the transactions occur. We also are putting in place a one-day permit for consumption and display. We talked about that previously and what that really is. We just haven't had one of these on the books. And so we have had a request for a one-day in the last year or so. So this is to provide an opportunity under your rules to allow for a permit fee for consumption and display permit. We are changing some of the prices for supporting ball tournaments at your fields. This is really driven by a couple of things, primarily of which relates to your cost of personnel to provide those support services. These would be for for-profit tournaments, if I can use that terminology. And so since they're making money, you should cover your costs certainly as a part of that work and that effort that's in place. We are also recommending a separate fee specifically for the reservation of Minnesota Square Park Pavilion. Previously, your pavilion there and the gazebo here at Gorman Park were kind of considered the same under the fee structure. So we're calling those out as being separate, and under Minnesota Square Park, providing some changes that include stage rental fees. As you'll note, the stage ramp and steps have been equalized to $100 each. That was a discussion at your last meeting. Black dirt, you make black dirt, and so we're charging contractors for that on a cubic yard basis. That isn't something that's been a part of it. Another change here on that next bullet point, or what I would call the third major bullet point on page 41, relates to sand salt mixture. This is where someone can come down to Public Works and get a 5-gallon pail of salt and sand mixture for their sidewalk or their driveway or whatever. In the past, there's been no fee for that. It's not that the salt and sand costs you much, it doesn't, but we meet somebody, we take it out there, we fill it up, we haul it back, we put it in the back of their car, all those kind of things. And so there's actually quite a little bit of time involved in that for some of your customers that wish to use that service. The next item that we have is solar panel interconnection application. This relates to the policy that you have and is really driven by those by the amount of energy that those solar installations can have if they are connected to the distribution system. So this is not for somebody who might have a solar panel that just lights the light bulbs within their yard barn. This is for folks that are going to interconnect to your system and could potentially push energy back onto your system. There are certain safety requirements and other things that we want to make sure that we're checking for and that they're following the rules appropriately, and this covers some of the costs for that work to take place. Those are the most significant changes that we've had. I think I've addressed all the questions and major issues that you had as a part of your workshop. The resolution starts on page 43, and as I mentioned earlier, there are a few in the numbering pattern. If you change these or modify something, that could change the numbering, so we're hoping you'll leave that to our discretion as you finalize this evening or make changes. I'm happy to stand for questions as best I can, Mayor and members.
Questions? Steve?
Todd, is this available on the city's website?
Yes, this ultimately is available on the city's website. Certainly, it is a part of, if you're asking for tonight, this has been a part of the packet. But yes, it is ultimately available on the website. It's a PDF file.
Okay, thank you.
Ed?
And it's not about the fees, but let's just say I rent the pavilion and put the stage down there. Is there a sign that gets put up that the part of a pavilion is rented out for this time period, or?
No, we do not have a sign that we put up currently. That is certainly something that we could do, but there is information provided to the police department. So if there's a discussion that might occur down there, they have access and have seen who is registered to essentially lease that property during that time.
Because that's what I was wondering, if somebody rents it out for a wedding or something like that,
Yeah.
and comes down there and there's another group of 30 people sitting in there already, if there's,
That's how we managed it
Okay.
in the past. Now, maybe with the new pavilion and the increased utilization, things will have to change. But we currently don't have anything electronic or a big whiteboard or anything like that.
okay.
But we'll keep our ears
Just
open.
curious.
Yeah.
In case we have to have an issue.
Yeah.
John?
Todd, one of the changes you're making is to increase the fees for notarized signatures. They were $1 a signature, now they're $5
Oh, yeah, I'm
a
sorry I didn't
signature.
mention that one, yes.
And part of the justification you used for the increase was that the city undergoes some expense in the training required for the 4 people on staff who are registered notaries.
Not exactly the training, John, but the application and fee process with the state of Minnesota.
Right.
Yeah.
But don't we have 4 people on staff who are notaries for our own use? I mean, isn't 90% or 95% of the time they are doing notarizing documents, it's for our benefit?
John, I can't speak to a percentage, but I believe it's substantially less than 95%. It is amazing how many people could come in and want things notarized.
Really?
Yeah, it really is.
Boy, there's a lot that goes on in town that...
There
you just
is.
never
And
know
I'm always a
about.
little bit surprised by it because if I didn't work for the city, my first instinct would be to go to my bank or someplace like that.
Sure.
But frankly, a lot of people show up at City Hall looking for a notary.
Even before I worked at the courthouse, I used to go to the courthouse, and a lot of people up there, they dropped it because they were tired of being hassled with it, and they were hardly ever using it. So it's just a little inconvenient.
Yeah, and you would think it would be an easy process, show your ID. It's amazing, and Barb is a notary, and again, we have a few others within City Hall. But it's amazing how many people are hesitant to provide the required documentation to have something notarized. And so there is a little bit of, maybe hassle factor is the right word for that.
I mean, you can...
It's interesting.
You can be held for,
Yeah.
for a lot of accountability if you...
There is. Yeah.
Do something wrong with it.
I did have to have one notarized last Friday and had to invite a former county commissioner over and ply him with alcohol to get it done. But it didn't cost me anything.
That's not allowed at City Hall, John.
I'm just offering that as, alternative.
All right. Steve?
Well, I've come to City Hall and had Barb notarize things for me, and I don't have to give her any kind of alcohol, and she's got a very pleasant smile, and I give her my $1 or whatever the fee is, and she thanks me, and I thank her, and I'm on my way.
Anyone else? The resolution approving the 2020 municipal fee schedule, I'm going to add with giving the staff discretion not to change the fees, but to potentially change the numbering system. Appears on pages 43 through 62. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
All right.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have a business license application.
Mayor and members, the information is included in your packet on page 63 with a resolution on page 64. This is for Carly Carello, and it's for a soft drink license at the Caribou Coffee, which is located on, or will start soon, but is located at North Minnesota Avenue. There's nothing that we saw in a background check that will prohibit issuance of the licensure. Again, the resolution's on page 64.
Questions? Is Ms. Carrillo the manager, or is she from Caribou?
From the corporate office.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Other questions? The resolution approving the new business license for Caribou appears on page 64. Is there a motion for approval?
Move the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Any questions or comments now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Grams?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Zeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Fawnin?
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Aye.
Resolution is approved. That concludes our new business. Next up, we have reports. The only thing I have, and it's a clarification, and if I'm wrong, John, you let me know. We made a comment earlier about good luck to the holdover council members. That was not a reflection of the new council members coming in.
certainly not.
Yeah, I knew
Certainly
that, but I mean, just sometimes it's more of a reflection how much you and, well, not you, but how much Jerry's going to be missed, I would think.
Absolutely. That was
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor.
entirely what I was thinking.
I knew that, but sometimes people hear things, and, anyway. Other than that, Todd, I think you're going to be covering the other things that I had wanted to note about, so.
All right. Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll turn the first one over to the city attorney. As you know, you had a closed session at your last workshop to discuss the city administrator evaluation. State statute indicates very clearly that a report has to be made, and that's Jim's pleasure here today to make a report.
Thank you. Yeah, this, at the workshop, we discussed Todd's evaluation. We went through it. The comments we received were very positive. At the end of the session, you instructed me to review the evaluation with Todd and to discuss future salaries. And once I have that evaluation with Todd, I will come back to the workshop and discuss that in more detail with you.
All right.
Mayor, members, the next item that I have on my list is curbside leaf pickup. My report is the leaves nor the weather have been cooperative. But hang in there, we will continue to pick up leaves. The best source of information is either to contact Public Works or to watch our Facebook page, and we'll provide updates related to picking up leaves throughout the community. And so we can intend to continue to keep going, and we will as long as we're really able to do that and leaves are still around. So the reason I'm doing it this way, Mayor and members, is because by tomorrow it could change. And so I don't want to, when we show on TV a little bit later, so check, give us a call or check that Facebook page.
I saw there was this less than an inch for maybe tomorrow, but after that, the next week, so far, anyway, had nothing for moisture.
Yeah,
So-
and even tomorrow, if it's crystallized and not wet, that doesn't hinder us going forward. So there's a lot of variables here, but we're going to continue to try to pick up leaves. So hang in there with us. We're trying to get around every place that we can.
Okay.
All right, the next item is goal-setting session. I'll mention the goal-setting session on November 18th. That's next Monday at 3 p.m. I do think I probably have on here the wrong location unless something happened with room. I believe we will be in the St. Peter room, but check your agenda as we go forward.
correct.
Yeah, just because of how the calendar falls here, there's actually school board meeting here in this room on the 18th. So we will be in the St. Peter room, I believe. So check your agenda. Maybe we'll put an extra bold on the bottom there, but I believe it will be the St. Peter room. We tried to get it all mushed around, and I think that's where we've ended up. So wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Again, starting at 3 o'clock, you can expect packets here Friday. Please be aware of that.
I know a couple of you are here tonight, but the other two, hopefully they will get the word, and I know you've been notified, but you will be included in our discussion, and doesn't mean you have to, but encourage you all to attend. Thank you.
Mayor, members, the next one I have is council member-elect orientation. I do want to mention that that is planned for the 12th, and I know some of the newly elected council members have that on their schedule. There may be some additional discussion about exactly how that all fits together, but is also the intent, as the council's discussed, and I've discussed with council member-elect Noel, appointment prior to that first council meeting in January. So please be ready for that as well. This has been discussed by the council, and so we'll follow through on the calendar appropriately. So please be aware of that. And I have one other one that I'd like to mention, Mr. Mayor. It's also important to note that we need your help as we look for and interview the hospital CEO. So if you are picking a couple of things during that process over the 18th, 19th, and 20th of November in that process. Certainly, there is a public meet and greet on the 20th, and that is going to be from 4 o'clock to 5:30.
Todd, let me stop for a second.
Sure.
Is it not the 19th, 20th, and 21st?
I'm sorry, you are correct. 19th, 20th, and 21st, my error. Sorry about that. So 19th, 20th, and 21st. So on the 20th, which is the Wednesday, from 4 to 5:30 is a public meet and greet, and we will be putting out y'all come invitations to the community, come and meet the candidates that are there. All of the candidates will be there together at the same time, and we'll kind of get them stationed in different parts of the room, the Helen White conference room there at the hospital. And so people will be able to, I think we'll probably have coffee and cookies, something like that, and be able to visit with those candidates and fill out a little sheet and share their impressions with us. It's not a requirement that you be there, but if you're interested at that level, in addition to the interview, we'd really encourage you to attend and want to encourage the public to attend. And then on the 21st, the interview process starts at 8:30, Thursday morning at 8:30. And it is my hope that we will be concluded before 5 o'clock with interviews and discussion about your priorities for candidate selection. As you may recall, this interview process will be done cooperatively between the council and the hospital commission. And it'll be my goal to leave that meeting with you with some, again, kind of a ranking of candidates and discussion as to contract negotiations. I would anticipate that we would make offers soon thereafter, if the commission and council can come to an agreement. And then at the upcoming cycle of meetings, both the commission and the council would take action to approve. As you know, under your ordinance, the commission cannot hire nor fire a hospital CEO without your concurrence. And this is essentially the same process that we've used before. I'd also mention to you that if you can't make all of them that day, don't come to any of them. It's not helpful to have only seen one or two of the multiple candidates. It's much more helpful if you can see them all at the same, within that same time frame. And so, Mayor, members, that's what I have for you.
You said 8:30, that also is at Helen White?
That is also at Helen White.
Okay.
And so there will be information sent out to you about whether it's Helen White 1 or 2,
Right.
or whether it'll be the entire space. Frankly, Jackie and I don't have that quite figured out yet, but it will be in Helen White.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Anything to add? If not, is there a motion to approve? Or to approve, to adjourn?
Either way.
Jerry, did you make a motion to adjourn?
I did, you know that.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned and approved.
So, so this is public funds.
Todd?
Yes, sir.